Three, two, one, here we go. Rainman's Take podcast. Observations on the world we live in. My take on current events and other topics of interest. Also, interviews with some really cool people. So let's get the conversation going. Hey everybody, it's the Rain Man. Happy 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. Hope you're all doing well out there, enjoying your day off and hopefully enjoying festivities and fireworks coming up a little bit later on out here on the West Coast. Anyway, have started doing something here over the last few years. I want to just kind of keep the momentum going. I'm going to read the Declaration of Independence, and I'll get into it in a second why I want to do that. But before I do, if you are already a part of the Rainman's Take community, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. If you're new to the program, welcome. I know you're going to love the content. So if you could, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, which you're going to see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen there. And also, if you could watch this to the end, I'd really appreciate it. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm, which in turn helps me get this content out to more people and continue in the conversation. So thank you again for being a part of the Rainman's Take community. All right, so getting into why I do this. So, as most of you know, I was in the Marine Corps, flew helicopters in the Marine Corps, and while we were over in Iraq in 2004 and 2005, one of the guys in our squadron, one of my very close friends, call sign Gaddafi, every 4th of July, which was, we were over there for two of them, he got up in front of the ready room and read the Declaration of Independence. And I always thought that was really cool because it is such an amazing document. It really set the stage for what our country has become and the promise of what our country can be. So Gaddafi would get up and he would read the Declaration. So I always thought that was very cool. And so I have started doing that as well. So what I wanted to do before I get into that, just a couple things. First of all, right now in America, it's no secret that we are facing some severe headwinds out there. And I just bring up a couple of examples. First one, there was actually a recent poll out that the majority of people that were surveyed said that the United States right now is moving in the wrong direction. And there was a general sense of pessimism as to where they thought the United States was going over the next couple of years, and I thought that was very troubling. The next one was there was another poll, and that said the majority of people in this poll actually said that they didn't think that patriotism was that important anymore, and that one really stuck with me. And again, that's why I want to read the Declaration, because we cannot forget what it was that they were trying to put together when they founded this great country. So those two polls definitely are eye-opening to me, and they're a little bit disconcerting. And probably the most concerning out of the news that I've read recently is, and again, another poll, Gen Z. The majority of Gen Z would have no problem with government monitoring what goes on in their own homes, the privacy of their own home. And that one really, really stood out to me. It seems like we're not being taught what it means to be an American, what it means to live in this great country and the freedoms that we've been given in this country. And that's obviously showing in those three polls that I just mentioned. And then, of course, just the other day, another basketball star, Natasha Cloud from the WNBA, calling out the U.S. as being trash and racist for all the current woke grievances that she goes on to talk about in this article about her. And really, I'm not going to get into this because I did a whole episode about the Brittany Griner situation. And again, when I read this, I immediately think about Brittany. In terms of Natasha Cloud and all the other entertainment and sports stars that are out there that are just unbelievably wealthy, have taken advantage of all the opportunities that they've had living in this country. One of the things that she mentions, Cloud, in this article, is that she's been all over the world with her, because of the fact that she travels all over the world and plays all over the world basketball, that she's seen places that are better than the United States. And when I hear that from people like sports stars and entertainment stars, them saying America is no longer the great place that everyone thinks it is. There are better places out there. My take is, well, why don't, if you don't like America that much, why don't you move? And inevitably, none of them do. And it goes back to Brittany Griner, and that is, it takes actually living outside of the United States to truly appreciate the blessings that we have from living in this country. And it all started with the Declaration of Independence back in 1776. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and read this verbatim because I don't want to screw it up. Let's put it that way. The Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, and actually there is some historical facts to suggest it was actually signed on the 2nd vice the 4th, but that's actually besides the point. We celebrate our nation's birthday today, July 4th. But the Declaration is set up into, well, it's got 3 sections. First is the preamble, and that's sort of the kind of the call to action from the founders. The second part is the list of grievances, and they list 27 grievances of why they felt the need to separate from the British Crown. And I'm not going to mention all of them. I'll name a couple just to kind of give you a sense of what those were. But obviously, those 27 were only relevant back in the day, so a little bit gets lost there. So I'm only going to hit on a couple of those. And then obviously the conclusion is the Resolution of Independence. So without further ado, I got this from nationalarchives.org, the Declaration of Independence. And the note here is the following text is a transcription of the stone engraving of the parchment Declaration of Independence. The document is on display in the rotunda at the National Archives Museum. The spelling and punctuation reflect the original document. So the preamble. In Congress, July 4, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure their rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferances of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. And then it goes ahead and lists the 27 grievances. And like I just mentioned, I'm not going to go into all of them because they're obviously specific to that time in history, but I'll just give you a little bit of an example of what they were talking about. 1, he refuses to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for their tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among the citizens, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. And then finally, the resolution of independence. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. We have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are of and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved of all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And then it's followed by the signature of 56 delegates from the 13 established colonies at the time: Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Massachusetts, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So is the United States perfect? No. No place is perfect, and human beings will be human beings with all their grace and, yes, shortcomings. We are moving in the right direction, and yes, sometimes that has taken time, but it has happened, and we have codified that in our Constitution, which was ratified in 1788, the abolition of slavery, women's rights, civil rights, anti-discrimination laws. If you think that this is written by men for men, written by white men for white men, don't look at it that way. Do this. Change the word man everywhere you see it in the Constitution and put human in there. And then the Declaration becomes for everyone, as we are trying to make it and as we have made those changes that are required for everybody to feel the full benefits of this amazing document. And I think we are moving in the right direction. As a matter of fact, I know we are. And it to me, our life here in the United States is worth fighting for. And that's why those three polls that I had mentioned when I first started really bothered me, because it seems like right now, at least that's the impression that I'm getting from these polls, is that Americans aren't really proud of what America is and what it stands for. And to me, having served in the armed forces, having been to some pretty horrible parts of the world, you realize just how amazing this place is and just how fragile it is. And we need to periodically, on the 4th of July, we need to reflect on what it was that they were trying to accomplish and what it is that we've changed to make it more accessible for the entire population of this country. So that was just a quick 4th of July message to everybody. Again, I hope you have a great night tonight. Enjoy the fireworks if that's what you're going to be doing. And I'll finish it like I always do. If you're in the military, police departments, fire departments, or first responders, if that's you out there, thank you very much for your service. Stay safe, and happy birthday, America. This is the Rain Man. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching Rain Man's Take, Observations on the World We Live in. If you like the content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. You can also follow Rain Man's Take on Instagram at Rain Man's Take. Also, check out our website at www.rainmanstakepodcast.com and send your comments to rainmanstake@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for future podcasts, which will be coming out every Thursday at 5 p.m. West Coast time.